Welcome back to Chatchit. This is a review of the Melbourne Demons 2025 season.
Well, it was a season of transition for the Demons. There were some big name departures we'll discuss later. Melbourne embraced change and let the players they wanted to go. The arrival of a new coach signals a new era for Melbourne.
Absolutely pissing down here at the turn. Marcus has kicked up. Jesus! Usain Bolt wouldn't get him now.
The legend becomes immortal.
Let's start with some highs in this Melbourne season. So it's their second straight season, finishing 14th. It's not the most exciting time for Melbourne, especially compared to recent years with a premiership. But we had really elite seasons from Max Gawn and Cosy Pickett, who I really want to highlight. Both securing All-Australian Blazers, Pickett his first and Gawn his eighth. Gawn is probably solidifying himself as the greatest ruckman ever. Obviously, we're young guys. We haven't seen all the old ruckmen, except I can't really imagine a ruckman as good as Max Gawn for this long. And then, secondly, to focus on a youngster, Harvey Langford had a great rookie season and placed fourth in Rising Star voting.
Well, my breakout player was Harvey Langford, 19 years old, looks every bit of a future star. Size and strength, perfectly built for that big-bodied midfield that every team craves. My surprise performer, I put Jake Bowey in there. So he put together a career best season.
He's such a consistent performer.
Yeah, he was linked superbly with Christian Salem of halfback, consistent, composed all year. Didn't think he had this sort of performance all-round season in him. But just moving on to the lows, I just wrote being on the back end of the Nasiah Wangani Malira miracle comeback game, one that people are going to remember for years. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting 2026 for Melbourne.
Yeah, so focusing on their lows, their senior players from that premiership run where it looked like they could have really had a dynasty, that they sort of continued to decline this year. To list some of their most important players during that finals run: Lever, May, Salem in the backline, Clayton Oliver and Petracca and Viney, Bailey Fritsch and Tom McDonald. Many of these guys are well on the way down in their career, especially compared to a few years ago. And in my opinion, when you look around at the Melbourne squad this season, there's a real lack of young talent jumping out at you, at least to me. And the results themselves, finishing 14th with 7 wins, that was about where we expected, I think, in the preseason. But in my view, Melbourne fans could be a bit concerned that they're going to be forced into a full rebuild, and they're not exactly set up right now with a gluttony of young guns that are set to break out in the next 1 or 2 years. As you mentioned, probably the biggest moment this year, other than the loss to St Kilda, was the sacking of Simon Goodwin. Very much represents, as you said, the change of guard, that this is a new era. That is sacking their premiership coach, who, no one really has a bad word to say about in and around Melbourne. And then obviously having those off-field matters during the year relating to drug use and some players caused some instability off the field, and so they've now sort of offloaded that and gotten rid of the players like Clayton Oliver and Petracca that they wanted to move on.
But the team did look noticeably different at the end of 2025 under the new coach. A bit more of instead of a contest and defense approach under Simon Goodwin, it was a bit of a free-flowing transitional game, which is what a lot of teams have been moving towards in the recent AFL years. As for a rating, I gave them a 4 out of 10. Like an average year, but sort of sets the stage for an exciting rebuild.
I think this is the first time we've had the same rating. I've also got 4 out of 10.
But just looking into their trade and draft period, they have a few ins. Max Heath from St Kilda, Jath from Hawthorn, Brody Myercheck, which is a big in, desperate for a forward. Yeah. Jack Steele, surprising in as well.
To me, the biggest steal of the trade period.
Yeah, didn't get him for a lot. St Kilda are also
third-round pick.
St Kilda are paying a bit of the salary as well. So he's on little to no money. They lost a lot of experience, but they gained a club captain in Jack Steele.
And I just want to add to that, a club captain that is still performing, I think, at a really solid level, not getting as much of the footy in his hands as St Kilda the last couple seasons, but dude, this is a 2-time All-Australian player who's not that old, so I think it was a steal.
They had a lot of outs, so delisted Jack Billings, delisted Tom Fullerton, Judd McVie was traded to Freo, they did want to keep him. Clayton Oliver traded to GWS, Christian Petracca traded to Gold Coast, Charlie Spargo to North, Taj Woden delisted. So it's a huge shake-up. Yeah. They swapped experience for experience while adding some valuable draft picks, and honestly it feels like it's sort of the reset they needed. Like, if they kept going down this path, it wasn't going to lead them to a premiership. As for the draft picks they have 2 in the top 10, pick 7, pick 8, and then some later picks. So just inject some of that fresh talent. Like you just said, they don't have an insane amount of young talent coming through. But they're at a great phase to be rebuilding. We mentioned Tasmania all the time, but it's now is the time to get in the talent, get ahead of when Tasmania start picking up all the draft picks. But yeah, they're just aiming to rebrand their on-field identity under some new leadership.
Yep. Now looking forward to 2026, what we think the main sort of goals of the club will be. For me, I think just the biggest goal, as we're sort of harping on it here, is developing young talent, finding some real gems. Jake Bowey, absolute gem, who's broken out the last few years. And then Harvey Langford looks like one that'll do the same. But then they've got to find some others. It's got to be a sort of bigger core of young players. Hopefully these draft picks can help. And for me, 3 really important players for them will be Xavier Lindsay, who I think is another one of those young guys that can really jump up. When he played this season, he had a couple of small injuries, but when he played, he shows some serious promise. He has some more time to develop his body and get a bit stronger as well. And he looks like a guy that has all the right bits about him. And then Bailey Fritsch, he's not an old player that really necessarily needs to be declining. He can absolutely find a second peak in his career, and it's whether he can do that. He's a player that can kick 50 goals for you in a regular in a home and away season. And then Stephen May, the same. Seems like teams didn't really want him. Melbourne were happy to get rid of him. And
I thought the Swans were going to go after him at one point.
And I would have loved them too. So it sort of says a bit about where he's at in his career, that he was at one point considered the best fullback in the league for a couple of years, and only a few years later, no one really wanted him when he was on the table. So can he prove everyone wrong and show that he is still an elite fullback and sort of lead this team to, keep developing and getting better?
Well, I've done a superstar up-and-comer and a make-or-break player. My superstar, as we discussed, Cozzy Pickett, the X-factor, central to Melbourne's attacking identity. Up-and-comer, you mentioned him, Xavier Lindsay, promising first-year player. And my make-or-break player, Caleb Windsor. So he had a terrific rookie season in 2024, sort of plateaued in 2025. You'd really wanted to take that next step with a bit more responsibility in 2026. So my goal for them is just come out firing under the new coach, find their spark, build that new game style that excites both fans and players. As for their latter position, I have them finishing in 15th in 2026.
I've got them 16th.
And just some questions for the fans. Are you excited for this new Melbourne team in 2026? Was it right to trade Petracca and Oliver now? Which of the new recruits do you think will make the biggest impact next year? Are you happy they've brought in some of the older guys? I mean, where do you realistically see Melbourne finishing next year?
See you in the next one.